The strangest thing for sale in the border market was the only thing nobody was charging money for. I saw it from behind a stall of cracked engine cores, under the flicker of 3 dying neon signs and a ceiling fan that had not worked since the last trade war. The market on Vera Station sold everything a desperate traveler could carry and everything a criminal could hide behind paperwork. Used oxygen filters, counterfeit navigation chips, medicine with the labels scratched off, little prayer stones from moons that no longer existed. If you had credits, someone would sell you a dream. If you had enough credits, someone would sell you a nightmare and call it vintage. But at the center of row 9, tied beside a rust-stained metal pole, stood a woman with no price at all. She was alien, tall but thin, with pale sea-green skin that caught the blue station lights like glass underwater. A loose gray market wrap covered her shoulders, plain and worn, not chosen for beauty but for forgetting. Her wrists were held by a restraint loop fastened to the pole, not cruelly tight, not dramatic, just final in the way official things always are when nobody plans to help. Above her head hung a cheap white sign written in galactic trade and bad English, free. Nobody wants her. That was the part that made the crowd comfortable. Free meant no value. Nobody wants her meant no guilt. Hundreds of beings walked past that sign and accepted both sentences like weather. Some looked at her and laughed. Some looked away faster, which was worse. A pair of scaled merchants slowed down, read the sign, clicked their tongues, and moved on as if they had found a broken toaster on a sidewalk. A child from some winged species asked its parent why she was standing there. The parent pulled the child close and said, "Because some burdens are smarter to leave alone." The woman heard that. I know she heard it because one of her fingers moved. Just once. Not anger. Not pleading. Control. That is when the human stopped. His name was Nathan Cole, though none of us knew it yet. To us, he was just another earthborn trader in a dusty brown jacket, 6 feet tall, white skin, travel bag over one shoulder, boots. Worn from real ground instead of station flooring. Humans were easy to underestimate in markets like ours. Too polite. Too direct. Always reading signs like words meant something. Nathan had been passing through row 9 with the rest of the crowd, but when he saw the alien woman, he did what every sensible creature had avoided doing. He slowed down. Then he stopped completely. The stall owners noticed first. We always notice hesitation. Hesitation is where profit begins. Old Marek, the market broker who controlled that section, leaned back in his chair and smiled with all 3 mouths. He expected the human to ask what was wrong with her. Everyone asked that, if they asked anything at all. Nathan did not. He walked closer, looked at the sign, looked at the restraint, then looked at the woman's face. She did not raise her eyes. Her breathing stayed steady, but too steady, like someone holding a door shut from the inside. The crowd had begun to watch now. Quietly. Hungrily. Nothing sells better than someone else making a mistake. Marek spread his hands and called out, "Take her, Earthman. She is free. No refunds needed." A few nearby traders laughed. Nathan did not laugh. He stepped close enough for the station lights to show the dirt on his jacket and the calm in his eyes. Then he asked one simple question, and row 9 lost its appetite. Who decided nobody wanted her? For a moment, nobody answered the human, and that was how I knew his question had landed in the wrong place. Border markets survive on noise. Bargaining, engines whining, translators arguing with accents they were never built to process, merchants swearing that illegal goods are actually cultural antiques if you tilt the paperwork sideways. Silence means something has gone off script. Old Marek's smile thinned across all 3 mouths. He had owned row 9 for 20 years, and in all that time, I had never seen a buyer make him pause with a sentence that did not include a price. The alien woman kept her eyes down. That was the first lesson most people missed. She was not staring at the floor because she was broken. She was staring at the floor because she was listening to everything. Nathan. Cole seemed to notice that too. His gaze moved from her hands to the restraint loop, then to the scuffed circle on the metal deck around the pole. Hundreds of feet had passed there. Thousands, maybe. The dust had been pushed outward into a ring, because people kept stepping around her without stepping close. The woman had not been hidden. She had been displayed. That made it worse. Marek finally laughed, and the market remembered how to breathe. Who decided? He repeated, loud enough for 3 nearby stalls to hear. Everyone decided, Earthman. That is how free works. One trader buys her, keeps her one day, brings her back. Another tries, same thing. Too quiet. Too unlucky. Too much trouble for too little use. He waved one long hand toward the sign like it was an official verdict from the stars themselves. We tried lowering the price. Then we removed the price. Still nobody wants the problem. A few customers chuckled. Not because it was funny, because laughing told everyone which side they were on. The woman's fingers curled once around the edge of her wrap. Nathan saw it. Marek saw Nathan see it, and that annoyed him. You are new to Vera Station, he said. So let me help you before your soft little earth heart does something expensive. Some things look sad because they are sad. Some things look sad because that is how they catch fools. Nathan turned toward him slowly. Not dramatic. Not angry. Just present. Humans have a way of doing that, I learned later. They do not always fill a room by getting louder. Sometimes they fill it by removing every unnecessary motion until you realize they have become the only still point in the place. Around us, beings kept walking past, but slower now. A feathered courier pretended to check a shipping tag while watching from behind a crate. Two insectoid dockhands stopped arguing over fuel cells. A security drone hovered at the corner, scanned the sign, scanned Nathan, then decided this was not yet worth paperwork. That was Vera Station in one machine decision. Nobody helped until helping became mandatory. Marek leaned forward. Look at her, he said. No clan tag. No contract mark. No buyer warranty. She does not speak unless required. She does not work unless watched. She eats little, sleeps less, and every ship that took her on suffered bad luck within one cycle. Systems fail. Crews fight. Captains change course without knowing why. He lowered his voice, which made the crowd lean closer. She is not property, Earthman. She is liability with a face. That should have ended it. It ended it for everyone else. I watched 3 different buyers turn away that morning before Nathan arrived. One saw the sign and laughed. One saw the restraint and shrugged. One looked at the woman's face for almost a full second, then walked faster, as if pity might stick to his boots. Nathan did none of that. He looked at her like Marek had not spoken at all. Then he asked, "What is your name?" The crowd did not like that. You could feel it. Names make burdens heavier. Names make signs harder to believe. The woman did not answer at first. Marek rolled his eyes and spread his hands toward the watching stalls, inviting another laugh. See? Useless. Nathan crouched slightly, not close enough to crowd her, just enough to put his eyes below hers if she chose to look up. No rush, he said. I asked you, not him. The woman's breathing changed. Barely. Her lips parted, and her voice came out soft enough that the market almost missed it. Soraya Vaughn. The name moved through row 9 like a cold draft under a locked door. Most did not recognize it. But 2 old traders near the spice stall did, and they stepped back so quickly their cart wheels squeaked. Nathan heard that too. He stood again, calm as sunrise, and looked at Marek. Well, he said, she has a name. So your sign is already wrong. The sign should have been the end of the transaction. On Vera Station, words had weight only when they protected the seller, and that sign protected everyone except Soraya Vaughn. Free did not mean kindness. Free meant transfer of risk. Nobody wants her did not mean pity. It meant every debt, curse, claim, complaint, and hidden consequence tied to her name would follow the first fool reckless enough to take responsibility. That was why row 9 watched Nathan Cole with such interest. He was not just looking at a woman nobody wanted. He was standing at the edge of a contract trap old enough to have its own legal office. Marek saw the understanding spread through the crowd and smiled again. There it is, he said. You are learning. In this market, ownership begins with contact. Touch the restraint, sign the transfer. Speak for her, accept the burden. Walk away, stay clean. Simple enough for a human, I hope. Several merchants nodded like this was wisdom instead of cowardice wearing paperwork. Nathan looked at the sign again, slower this time. His eyes moved over the cheap lettering, the chipped corners, the smeared handprint near the bottom where someone had tried to peel it away and stopped. That detail mattered. Soraya had not been placed there for 1 hour. She had been there long enough for the station dust to collect along the restraint hinge and for the market to build a habit around ignoring her. The human stepped closer. Not touching. Not yet. Soraya finally raised her eyes just enough to see him. They were pale gold, almost colorless under the neon glare, and sharper than the rest of her looked. No begging in them. No hope either. Just warning. She moved her head once, so small most of the market missed it. Nathan did not. He stopped with his hand inches from the restraint loop. Marek laughed under his breath. Smart girl, he said. Even she knows better than to let you play hero. Soraya's jaw tightened. That was the first time I saw anger on her face, and it was not for herself. It was for him. She did not want the human involved. That should have frightened us more than the sign. Nathan lowered his hand, but he did not step back. Instead, he turned toward Marek and asked for the transfer terms. The broker blinked. No one asked for terms on free goods. They either grabbed or they left. Marek reached under his counter and produced a cracked slate with too many stamps and not enough truth. Liability transfer, behavioral uncertainty, unresolved origin, no station guarantee, no merchant responsibility, no return after departure, no complaint accepted by Row 9 authority. He read it proudly, like a priest reciting scripture. Nathan listened to every word. Then he asked, does she get a say? The question hit harder than the first one. A few customers made uncomfortable sounds. Marek stared at him as if the human had asked whether the ceiling fan wanted voting rights. She is the item being transferred, he said. Items do not approve transactions. Nathan nodded once, like Marek had confirmed something ugly but useful. Back on Earth, he said, we have a rule about that. Marek's eyes narrowed. This is not Earth. No, Nathan said. But I am. That was the wrong thing to say in a border market. Not because it was loud. Because it was calm. Calm makes threats sound accidental. The security drone drifted lower. The old traders near the spice stall moved farther away. Soraya looked at Nathan fully now, and for the first time, fear broke through her control. Not fear of Marek. Not fear of the crowd. Fear that the human had just placed himself inside a machine designed to punish decency. Nathan reached into his jacket, pulled out a single dull coin, and set it on Marek's counter. The coin was small, silver, and stamped with an Earth emblem worn smooth by travel. Marek stared at it. What is this? He asked. Payment, Nathan said. The sign says free. Nathan looked back at Soraya, then at the restraint holding her beside the pole. Nobody should be taken for nothing. The coin should have made everyone laugh harder. It was not station currency. It was not trade metal. It was not even clean. A little Earth coin, dull silver under neon light, lying on Marek's counter like a joke told by a species that had not learned the punchline yet. But nobody laughed. That was the thing about humans I had never understood until that moment. They could take a worthless object and, by placing it with enough certainty, make the room wonder if value was the wrong question. Marek stared at the coin, then at Nathan Cole, then at the woman beside the pole. His three mouths twitched in different directions, which meant his greed, pride, and caution were arguing faster than his brain could manage. Payment, he said slowly, tasting the word like spoiled fruit. For something marked free. Nathan nodded. For someone marked free, he corrected. That changed the air again. Not loudly. Not dramatically. Just enough that several merchants suddenly found reasons to adjust their goods and look away. Soraya Vaughn did not move, but the small muscles along her throat tightened. She was trying to tell him something without speaking. I saw it. Nathan saw it too. Her eyes flicked once toward the restraint loop, then toward the upper corner of Marek's stall, where an old black sensor box blinked every 7 seconds. Most beings would have missed it. Most beings were too busy watching faces to notice machines. Humans, apparently, watched both. Nathan's gaze followed the warning, found the sensor, then returned to Marek. Is that recording the transfer? He asked. Marek's smile returned too quickly. Of course. All legal exchanges in Row 9 are recorded for merchant protection. Merchant protection, Nathan repeated. Not buyer protection. Not her protection. Marek spread his hands. You paid with a souvenir and moral discomfort, Earthman. Do not expect premium service. A few of the younger traders finally laughed. They needed permission, and Marek had given it. The sound spread in small pockets around the row. The human with the sad eyes and the useless coin. The alien woman with the wrong name and the bad luck. The old broker about to turn kindness into paperwork. It was funny if you were cruel enough, and Row 9 had practiced cruelty until it looked like business. Nathan did not defend himself. That disappointed the crowd. They wanted anger. Anger would make him easier to understand. Instead, he reached down and picked the coin back up, then placed it on the counter again, slower this time, centered beneath the sensor box. I want the record clear, he said. I am paying because I refuse to let the first official document about her freedom say she was worth nothing. Soraya closed her eyes. Not relief. Pain, maybe. Or memory. Marek missed that completely. He leaned forward, voice smooth now. The voice of a broker who had decided the game was profitable again. Fine. The record will show symbolic compensation accepted. Touch the release plate. Accept liability. And she is yours to remove from row 9. Soraya's eyes opened at once. She shook her head. This time everyone saw it. The crowd liked that even more. They thought it meant she did not want the human. They thought it proved the sign. Marek seized the moment. Look at that, Earthman. Even the burden refuses rescue. Maybe she knows what happens to people who stand too close. Nathan turned to Soraya, not Marek. He did not crouch this time. He did not soften his voice into pity. He spoke to her like an equal person standing in a hard place. Are you warning me, or are you choosing to stay? The question cut through the laughter so cleanly that even the security drone stopped drifting. Soraya looked at the restraint, then at Marek, then at the sensor box. Her answer came barely above a whisper. Warning you. Nathan gave one small nod, as if that was all he needed. Then I heard, he said, and I am still here. The crowd wanted a performance now. You could feel it gathering in row 9 like heat under cheap metal roofing. Beings who had ignored Soraya Vaughn for days suddenly cared very much about what happened to her, not because they had found mercy, but because a human had stepped into the story and made himself easy to laugh at. That was the market's favorite kind of entertainment. No ticket price. No responsibility. Just a stranger making a mistake in public. Marek understood this better than anyone. He lifted both hands high and called for the recording sensor to widen its field. The little black box above his stall blinked faster, and a pale cone of light spread over Nathan Cole, Soraya, the pole, the coin, and the watching faces. Official witness mode, Marek announced. Since the Earthman insists on dignity, let dignity be documented. A ripple of amusement moved through the crowd. Someone whistled. Someone else asked if humans adopted broken machinery too. A tall insectoid trader clicked that Earth must be very lonely if its people collected trouble from foreign sidewalks. Nathan did not answer them. That annoyed the crowd, because mockery needs a reaction to feel alive. Without one, it starts to sound small. Marek leaned over the counter, lowering his voice just enough to seem private while still making sure everyone heard him. You understand the terms. Yes. Once released, she leaves row 9 under your claim. Any prior dispute follows you. Any complaint follows you. Any hidden obligation follows you. Any system alert follows you. Any enemy who remembers her name follows you. He smiled. Still feeling noble? Nathan looked past him at Soraya. Can you walk? He asked. That was not the question row 9 expected. Soraya seemed surprised by it too. Her pale gold eyes searched his face, looking for the trick, the pity, the weakness she had been trained by this place to expect. She found none. Yes, she said. Then we will start there, Nathan replied. The simplicity of it bothered the market more than a threat would have. Threats fit in row 9. Kindness did not. Kindness made everyone wonder what kind of planet produced a man who could hear a list of consequences and respond by asking whether the person beside him could stand. Marek's expression tightened. You keep saying we, he said. There is no we until you touch the plate. The release plate sat on the side of the pole, a dull oval of black alloy half hidden beneath scratches and warning stickers. I had seen it used before. Usually buyers slapped it quickly, eager to complete a deal before conscience caught up. Nathan approached it like a man approaching a nervous animal. Slow enough to show intent. Steady enough to show he would not be chased off. Soraya shifted her wrist against the restraint, not pulling, only reminding him that the moment mattered. Her voice came softer this time. Human, you do not know what they attached to my name. Nathan stopped with his hand an inch from the plate. Then tell me one thing, he said. Did you choose this pole? Her answer was immediate. No. Did you choose that sign? No. Did you choose to be left here? Her eyes lowered. No. Nathan nodded once. Then the rest can wait. Marek laughed too loudly. The crowd joined him too late. Even they felt it now, that tiny wrongness in the air, that sense that the human was not walking into a trap because he failed to see it. He saw it. He was judging the trap and finding it less important than the person inside it. Nathan placed his palm on the release plate. The market lights flickered. The recording sensor snapped into emergency focus. The restraint did not open. Instead, Red symbols crawled across the pole, one after another, old and sharp and nothing like merchant code. Marek stopped smiling. Soraya went perfectly still. Somewhere above row 9, a station alarm cleared its throat and decided whether history was about to become paperwork. The alarm did not scream. That would have been easier. Screaming alarms belong to fires, hull leaks, and fools who store unstable batteries beside heat vents. This alarm was polite. One clear tone, soft enough to sound almost embarrassed, followed by a pause that made every being in row 9 understand the station was asking permission from something older than itself. The red symbols on the pole continued to crawl beneath Nathan Cole's hand. They circled the release plate, climbed the restraint loop, and spread across the cheap white sign until the words above Soraya Vaughn began to flicker. Free. Nobody wants her. The letters blinked once. Then the translation layer failed. Marek backed away from his own counter. That was when the crowd truly became afraid. Old brokers do not retreat from bad deals. They retreat from claims they cannot control. Nathan kept his palm on the plate. His face changed only slightly, a tightening around the eyes. The look of a man realizing a locked door is connected to more wires than advertised. Soraya whispered his name. Not human this time. Nathan. The market heard that too. A name offered back is a dangerous thing. It means a person who is being treated like cargo has chosen a witness. Nathan looked at her without removing his hand. I am listening, he said. Soraya shook her head once, not in refusal, but in warning. If the lock recognizes you, it will not only release me, it will record you. Marek found his voice then, thin and sharp. Take your hand off the plate, Earthman. This transfer is suspended. Nathan did not look at him. You said ownership begins with contact. Marek's mouth opened, but no answer came out. The security drone dropped lower, its lens flashing yellow. Above row 9, the station speakers activated with a burst of static. Identity scanned incomplete. Non-local biological signature detected. Cross-reference required. Nathan glanced toward the speaker. Soraya closed her eyes as if she already knew the next words. The pole emitted a narrow beam of white light across Nathan's palm. No injury. No smoke. Just a scan so quiet it felt more invasive than pain would have. The old traders near the spice stall lowered their heads. One of them made a sign against old obligations. I had never seen that gesture outside funeral docks. The speaker chimed again. Terran genome confirmed. Legal archetype match pending. Marek hissed. That is impossible. Earth has no standing in pre-concordance law. The station ignored him, which was wise. More symbols appeared on the pole, but these were not red. They were gold. They moved differently, slower, cleaner, like a system remembering how to speak after centuries of silence. Soraya opened her eyes. For the first time since Nathan stopped at the sign, she looked less afraid for him and more afraid of what the market was about to learn. The speaker spoke again, and this time every translation implant in row 9 dropped the words directly into our skulls. Protector species detected. Emergency custodial claim authorized. Nobody breathed. Not Marek. Not the traders. Not the security drone, if drones count. Nathan finally removed his hand from the plate. The restraint clicked once and loosened around Soraya's wrists, not falling open yet, just waiting. Waiting for the human. Waiting for him specifically. Marek pointed at Soraya with a trembling hand. She is not under Earth claim. She cannot be. We checked every registry. Nathan looked at the gold symbols, then at the coin on the counter, then at the woman beside the pole. Maybe, he said, you checked the wrong kind of registry. The sign above Soraya's head went dark. When it came back on, the words had changed by themselves. Custody transferred to Terran protection. The words on the sign should have made Nathan Cole powerful. Instead, they made him responsible, and even row 9 understood the difference. Power makes people step back. Responsibility makes the wrong people step forward. Marek reached for the counter slate with both upper hands, trying to erase the record, but the black sensor box above his stall turned from yellow to white and locked the transaction in place. Official archive sealed. Merchant interference prohibited. The station said it with the calm voice of a judge who had already heard every excuse. Marek froze. That was the first honest thing he had done all morning. Soraya Vaughn looked at the loosened restraint around her wrists, then at Nathan, and for one strange second, she seemed more frightened of freedom than she had been of the pole. I did not understand that then. I thought freedom was a door. Humans think that too, sometimes. But for Soraya, freedom was a name waking up in systems that had been paid to forget her. The gold symbols spread from the pole to the floor, drawing thin circles of light around her feet. Not a cage, a recognition field. The old traders near the spice stall lowered themselves to one knee so quickly their joints clicked. The rest of us stared at them because fear is contagious, but respect is worse. Respect means there is history in the room, and you are the last one to know it. Nathan noticed the old traders kneeling. His expression sharpened. "Who is she?" he asked. Marek answered too fast. "Nobody important." The station corrected him. "Lineage marker confirmed. Von bloodline active. Archive title restored. Soraya of the Last Gate." The name hit row 9 like gravity changing. Not loud. Heavy. A winged courier dropped his package. One of the dockhands backed into a crate and did not apologize. The security drone rose 3 feet higher, as if distance could protect it from ancient law. Nathan turned to Soraya. "Is that true?" She held his gaze for a moment, then nodded once. "My family guarded something," she said. "A route. A warning. A promise." The words sounded simple, but the station lights dimmed around them, as if even the power grid wanted to listen carefully. Marek shook his head. Old superstition. Dead treaties. Forgotten gates. Nothing that matters in modern trade. The gold symbols brightened. The station disagreed again. Pre-concordance custodial failure recorded. Unauthorized abandonment identified. Market liability escalated. That last sentence changed Marek's color. Liability was the one sacred word every broker respected. He pointed at Nathan, no longer smiling, no longer performing for the crowd. "You do not know what you have claimed, Earthman." Nathan picked up his old coin from the counter and slipped it back into his pocket. "Maybe not," he said, "but I know what I did not leave behind." Soraya's shoulders moved with a breath she had been holding for longer than any of us could measure. The restraint opened completely and fell away from her wrists with a soft metallic sound. No one cheered. No one laughed. Even the market engines seemed quieter. Soraya stepped away from the pole for the first time since I had noticed her there, and the circles of gold light followed her like the floor itself remembered where she belonged. She was still thin, still wrapped in gray cloth, still standing in a dirty border market under broken neon signs. But nobody saw a burden now. We saw a hidden title wrapped in silence. We saw a mistake with witnesses, and beside her stood a human who had paid 1 coin so freedom would not begin with the word worthless. The market learned Soraya Vaughn's real name in pieces, because the truth was too old to arrive all at once. First came the title. Then came the silence. Then came the sound of every private scanner in row 9 trying to search her record and failing at the same time. It was a soft, ugly chorus of denied access tones. Merchants looked down at their wrist slates. Couriers checked their cargo tags. Dockhands pretended not to read the warning screens reflected in their goggles. Marek did not move. For 20 years, he had survived by knowing the price of everything before anyone else knew the danger. Now the station had named a woman from a dead archive, and his entire face looked like bad math. Nathan Cole stood beside Soraya, close enough to be seen with her, but not close enough to crowd her. That mattered. The gold recognition field around her feet widened until it touched his boots, then paused, as if asking whether the human belonged inside the same circle. Nathan glanced down at the light. Soraya watched him carefully. So did the market. We expected him to step away. Sensible beings step away when ancient law starts drawing shapes around their shoes. Nathan did not. He looked at Soraya and asked, "Is this going to make it harder for you if I stand here?" She stared at him like the question had come from a language older than trade. Not, "Will this hurt me?" Not, "What have I gained?" Not, "How dangerous are you?" He asked whether his presence made her burden heavier. That was when her control finally cracked. Not into tears, not into weakness, but into disbelief. "No," she said. "Then I will stand here," Nathan replied. The station heard him. The gold light crossed over his boots and locked into place. New text appeared above the dead sign. Terran witness accepted. Custodial bond acknowledged. Marek made a strangled sound. "That is not a purchase," he said. "That is a treaty response." The old spice traders bowed their heads lower. One of them spoke without looking up. "The last gate could not be opened by force," he whispered. "It could only be answered by a protector who chose the burden freely. I had heard fragments of the myth as a child, The way station children hear everything dangerous and half true. A hidden route beyond mapped space. A family sworn to keep it closed until the wrong empire came looking. A line hunted by debts, politics, and fear until only one heir remained. We were told the story was superstition. Border markets love calling things superstition right up until superstition starts editing the paperwork. The station display expanded again, projecting a faded star map over row 9. Not a modern map. Older. Stranger. The routes bent wrong around a dark sector no shipping guild admitted existed. At the center was a symbol matching the faint markings now glowing beneath Soraya's sea-green skin, thin lines of silver light tracing her wrists, neck, and temples like constellations remembering their shape. She looked smaller under that light, and somehow less fragile. Not powerful in the loud way rulers pretend to be. Necessary. That was worse. Necessary people make cowards uncomfortable because removing them breaks things nobody understands how to fix. Nathan looked at the map, then at Soraya. They left you here. Because they were afraid of what you were connected to, he said. Soraya nodded. They could not claim me. They could not remove the bond. They could not open the gate. So they made me unwanted. Marek whispered, we did not know. Soraya turned toward him for the first time without lowering her eyes. You knew enough to write the sign, she said. No one laughed. The sentence did not need volume. It had memory behind it. The security drone rotated toward Marek and flashed white. Investigation initiated. Market conduct review active. Row 9 suddenly discovered an urgent interest in looking innocent. Nathan reached into his travel bag and pulled out his brown jacket, worn at the sleeves and dusty from real roads. He held it out to Soraya, not placing it on her, not assuming permission, just offering warmth and cover in a place that had given her spectacle instead of dignity. Soraya looked at the jacket for a long moment. Then she accepted it. The gold field brightened once, and every locked door along row 9 clicked open at the same time. Every locked door in row 9 opened at the same time, and for one beautiful second, nobody knew whether to run, bow, or pretend they had supported kindness all along. That is the problem with public cruelty. When the room changes, cowards try to edit their faces before history takes a picture. Marek was the fastest. He stepped away from the counter, lifted his hands, and began explaining that the sign had been a misunderstanding, a temporary display, an unfortunate translation error caused by market automation, and certainly not his personal decision. The station did not care. The white security drone projected the archived recording above his stall, and there it was for everyone to see. The sign, the pole, the laughter, the terms, the moment he called Soraya of on a liability with a face. No one repeated the joke now. Jokes require safety, and row 9 had run out of it. Soraya stood beside Nathan Cole with his worn brown jacket over her shoulders, her sea-green skin lined with faint silver light, her wrists free, her posture still careful but no longer small. That was what struck me most. Freedom did not make her loud. It made her still in a different way. Before, her stillness had been control under pressure. Now it was choice. Nathan picked up his travel bag and slung it over one shoulder like he had just finished buying spare parts instead of waking an ancient treaty in the dirtiest market on Vera Station. He looked at Soraya and asked, "Can you leave?" She glanced toward the open corridor at the end of row 9, where docking lights blinked through the haze. "Yes," she said. "Then we leave," Nathan replied. Simple. American. Almost rude in its refusal to become dramatic. Marek moved one step into their path, not blocking them exactly, because even his fear had survival instincts, but close enough to bargain. "Earthman, listen carefully. Whatever she carries, whatever gate she is tied to, there are groups who will not let you walk away with her." Nathan stopped. The whole market leaned in, hungry for the threat, desperate for the human to finally understand scale. "Empires," Marek whispered. "Guilds. Houses with fleets. Old creditors with long memories." Nathan looked at him for a moment, then at the sign above the pole, now dark and useless. "You had all that information," he said, "and the best idea your market had was to tie her to a pole and call her unwanted." Marek had no answer. There was no profitable answer to that. Soraya stepped forward first. Not Nathan. Soraya. The gold field followed her, then narrowed into a thin line beneath her feet, guiding her toward the exit like the station itself had been waiting years to apologize. As they passed, The old spice traders lowered their heads again. The younger merchants copied them because fear is often the first lesson before respect. Nathan did not tell anyone to move. They moved anyway. At the edge of row 9, Soraya paused and looked back at the pole. For days, maybe weeks, that place had been the center of her humiliation. Now it looked smaller than a parking meter. She reached into the pocket of Nathan's jacket and found the earth coin he had taken back from Merrick's counter. She held it out to him. Nathan shook his head. "Keep it," he said. "First payment on a future that belongs to you." Soraya closed her fingers around the coin, and the last silver lines on her skin faded to a quiet glow. The station announcement followed them into the corridor. Terran protection confirmed. Last gate custodian recovered. Market negligence under review. Row 9 never recovered its old confidence after that. The sign was removed. The pole was cut from the floor and melted down. Marek lost his license, then his stall, then the habit of smiling before he knew who was listening. But the story kept moving through docks and ships and border towns, growing sharper each time it was told. The galaxy said nobody wanted her. A human asked who had decided. And from that question, an old promise woke up, a hidden name returned, and every market in the sector learned a lesson Earth apparently considered obvious. The things you throw away may be the things you were never worthy to hold.